Hey guys, so today I thought I'd bring you a little bit of a deck guide and sort of gameplay for Alchemy Nilfgaard with Jan Calviat. I think it's a really strong deck right now. I mean, the meta's just only now, becoming a little bit established, but I think Alchemy is going to definitely be one of the top contenders along with Henselt probably. So I'll jump into my, version of the deck, show you what's what, potentially tell you why I've included some cards over others. So yeah. Obviously, we have a Calviat. This is the standard in all alchemy decks at the moment. It's just a really good leader, you're getting a lot of points, a lot of tempo, and you got some manipulation of, your draws and things, which ties in with some of the other cards, such as Vilgefortz. We're going to be pulling out the top unit of the deck. You want to kill a one strength dude with this. Obviously, you got to be careful that you don't pull out a Roach with Vilgefortz, but that's usually not too much of a problem. Um, because you can, manipulate stuff with Calviat. If you see you've got a Cantarella on the top or a Roach on the top of your deck, then you can sort of work around that with the Vilgefortz. Next is the Vesemir Mentor. He's going to be synergizing with the Alchemy cards we have in the deck, and that's obviously what the deck is built around, the name giving it away a little bit there. But yeah, he can pull bronze and silvers, so we have usually you're going to pull silvers with the Vesemir. We've got the Mandrake, the Ale, and the Runestone for that. I'll go into a little bit of detail on what each of these is about in a minute. Next is Triss Telekinesis, which is a little bit unusual, I think, for Alchemy at the moment. I'm sure it will pick up though very soon. She's just in the deck. She's a 6, basically. Plus, you get to play one of your ales or ointments from your deck, and potentially a bronze spell from your opponent's deck as well. So she's just giving you a lot of flexibility, a good, 20-point drop in any stage of the game. So I think she's very strong and better than the Stefan that's usually run in her place. Then next we have Kahir. He's like a big part of this deck. You want to be able to resurrect the Calviat, probably after buffing the Calviat with Mandrake. That tends to be the combo you can go for. You can also sometimes find Peter from the Runestone and buff him that way as well. So silvers, we have Cantarella. Obviously needs a spy right now. Spy is pretty important. If you don't have yours and you get spied in round 1 or whatever, you might be in trouble. So we have her. Then Asaya, she's tends to be used for putting Roach back into the deck. Sometimes one of the silver alchemy cards as well to use with the Vesemir. And yeah, she's just decent. You can also put opponents' cards back in, such as Olgierd, um, bricked cards, that sort of thing, to make the opponent's draws worse. Or just as graveyard hate. Next we have Roach popping out for thinning, pretty standard stuff, pretty good. And then obviously making Asaya better, you want to run these two together, or probably not at all. They work well together. Next is the Mandrake, so this one's really good against opposing Calviats. You can obviously get rid of him, but usually you're gonna be wanting to strengthen your own Calviat either through the Vesemir or just playing it manually. It also gives you a really good answer to Imrith Sabbath, which quite a lot of people are playing at the moment. Next we have Expired Ale, and now this one is interesting. I've put it in because I think on average it's more value than Black Blood, which is the other card you could run in its place. Just on average, this is 12 points, right? If they're in 2 rows, which is okay. It's not great, but it can get up to 18, which is pretty good. Black Blood's going to be probably less on average, but better in some cases. So I mean, you can run Black Blood as well. That's perfectly fine. And then Runestone is just good. Silver Nilfgaard cards are in general pretty strong, and you can get all sorts of juicy things. Like I had a game today where I got Swears against Consume, and the game was over. So pretty good stuff. Then we have the Bronze Core, which is probably the most important bit. It's the triple ale, it's the triple ointment to res all of your units here. You have the ale to obviously just get some points with the Vico novices that pull those out, as well as the ointments. You have slave drivers to just fill up the spaces in the deck and use your opponent's deck against them effectively, which can be quite tilting for the opponent. And finally we have the Viper Witcher, which is kind of what the whole deck is built around. So that's dealing 1 damage for every alchemy card. We have 9 alchemy cards, so this will be dealing 9 damage, which is usually enough to remove sort of any engine you want, and you don't tend to waste damage on it. So that's all good stuff. So yeah, that's the deck. And we'll jump into a game and I'll just, show you the ropes. Okay, so we're going to jump right into a game against Radovid, it would seem. So first things first, mulliganing wise, we always want to get rid of Mahakam Ales because we're going to be pulling these out with the Vicar of Iron Novices later on. So that's the first one we can kick. Obviously, we can get rid of a Roach. Probably going to kick the Ointment here as well, just so we don't draw another one of those. And then the Roach afterwards. In terms of matchups, like, it's hard to say right now because, you know, the meta's just developing. I'd say the hard matchups for this deck are probably going to be Skellige with carryover. It's pretty difficult to deal with, and also sort of Deathwish Dagon things, since you don't have a weather clear, and they can kind of pressure you pretty hard. But apart from that, you know, Alchemy is quite strong across the board, I think. But yeah, I just thought I'd mention that since I haven't in previous videos, and that would be helpful to do that. Anyhow, so usually first play we're going to start with Slave Drivers because they're pretty, you know, pretty basic. We can just get some decent value from them. Just get rolling on the board, so we can get some Vicar Novices down with the Ales. You obviously don't want to play those until you have a unit in each row. And our plan for first round is just going to be setting up the graveyard so that our ointments are, you know, doing things later on, as well as our Cahir on Calviet. So we need to work out how that's going to work. Yeah, next we can play Vicar of Iron Novice and hope we don't draw two ointments. Sometimes that will happen and you just are in a bit of trouble there, but not this time, which is good. So we can also manipulate our draws, Calviet, and then see them, and then, you know, Vilgefortz, depending on what we are shown there. The other question is, do we want to play Witches yet? Probably not. We can wait on those until we see any engines. This guy's probably going to be playing, you know, Trebuchets and Redanian Knight Elects, which we want to, you know, hit down. So we can wait on that. Similarly with the Ale, unless he plays 2 rows, we don't want to play that one. Now we can probably go ahead and just Calviet, I think, and give us the option to play Vesemir afterwards. Since we know that Roach is on the top now, we don't want to play the Vilgefortz because he'll pull Roach. And we can just take an Ale here. Safe to do so. So yeah, we want to play the Vesemir, probably for Mandrake on our Calviet before playing that Vilgefortz. However, you know, first we can go ahead and kill any engines that he plays, because obviously that's going to gain us the most value in the long round, so we can do that. And this round we don't have to win, we don't have to lose, it's really depends just what happens, I guess. We can go ahead and buff up the Calviet. That's going to be basically our carryover. It's going to get the Roach out of the deck. It's going to make our finisher a lot stronger. And you do this probably like 8 times out of 10 if you have it available to you. It's pretty strong. See if the opponent has something that desperately needs removing, like in the Axeman matchup or against Imlerith Sabbath, you can consider not playing it on the Calviet. So now we know Ointment is the top card of our deck because we've thinned the Roach, so Vilgefortz is still dangerous to play unless we're, you know, killing a unit that we can then resurrect with it. I don't think we need to do that here though. We can just go ahead and play a Runestone, you know, see what we get. It's Guardian and Sealak and Hefty Helga. Honestly, taking Guardian's pretty good because we can brick one of his draws. You know, the Radovid deck is going to be trying to thin out as much as possible, and he's going to have things like Dijkstra and all sorts of other thinning tools which are going to draw him that Guardian, which should just be a bit of a pain for him. Okay, so we could go ahead and drop probably the Foul Ale here if we want to, Expired Ale, sorry. If we want to just get some points on the board, get rolling. We have got the Natalis from him, which is a good start. Generally speaking, if you can play the Ale for you know, hitting all 3 rows, you should do that. Because it's often quite difficult to set up, particularly if the opponent's, you know, playing around it effectively. Now we don't really have any more plays we want to make here. We could drop the Cantarella, and I kind of am thinking we should do that, just to thin the deck, and because we don't want it later. We're going to take Triss in this situation here. Normally we might save Cantarella and just go for the pass, but since he won't play his own spy, then I think it's fine to just, you know, do that there. So we have Vilgefortz. If we can use that on his Nova, it's potentially very good, but we might not have last say in this game since we are going to go for the pass. Generally speaking, if you get to round 3 with your finisher cards, like, you know, Cahir, the Triss, the Vilgefortz, you're usually pretty okay because this deck's power level is slightly above, you know, most of the decks out there at the moment. You know, that means your finishers are just going to be stronger in general than the majority of other decks. Anyhow, we can probably get rid of Ointment here. I'm going to draw an Ale, which obviously we don't want either. But if you can chain the Vicar of Iron Novices, that's kind in round 3, that's kind of what you want to be doing. Now in this situation here, we can either go with the Sire, or we can go with the Vicar of Iron Novice. I think Novice is best because we can thin the deck a little bit. And we're actually going to take another Novice here to indeed do that thinning. should be good, and we can even, you know, slave driver, why not? Just because we want to have a higher chance of getting the Kahir, which will be able to draw us more cards in around 3 and effectively thin out our whole deck, get all of the tools that we need. And we do have another novice in deck, so mulliganing Ale is perfectly fine. We're going to go ahead and do that. We don't draw the Kahir, which is a little bit unfortunate. However, we can still find it with Vilgefortz if you know, we're fortunate. So in this situation, we probably want to thin one more ointment or ale from the deck with a novice before playing the Vilgefortz, and we can do that with the Triss. We just really want to thin our deck down as much as possible to try to find, you know, the good old, good old Kahir. Anyhow, we've got to think about as well what we can put into the opponent's deck with the Sire. So we're going to be putting Roach into our deck, I think, first, because he's going to obviously pop out when we play another gold. And then we can also put back Cantarella into his deck. It's going to be a minus 13 point play if he ends up pulling it out with, you know, Dijkstra or something like that, or even if he draws into it. So that's going to be pretty nasty. Remember, you can always do that with a Sire. Always can put Spy back if you want to disrupt the opponent's draws. Okay. So that's his play. Now we can probably go with the Triss. Roach will pop out. We could also think about going with Slave Driver, might even be better because we can find engines. Or alternatively, we can just steal all his armor. That works as well for the king. There's no real rush. As long as we play the Triss before the Vilgefortz, we should be good to go. So we can probably play a second Slave Driver. Generally, if Slave Driver has the option of finding, you know, you know, whatever they call these engines, then you should do it. Here we can just, you know, completely knock off the armor from him, effectively using his own deck against him, which is pretty funny. Yeah, it might be a difficult one to win because the Nova's going to be scary, but you know, if he does end up rolling into that what's it called, Cantarella, then we should be good to go. So we'll play Triss now. Oh, it turns out we actually get options from his deck rather than our own. So I think we want to take Reconnaissance here. We can find the Vic of our own Novice, and we can thin out, you know, all of our spells now. So if we Ointment now, we can then get another Novice, and then we can, you know, we can chain it into an Ale. And there we go. We're down to 2 cards, so it's a 50-50 for us to, you know, hit the Kahir or not. If we hit the Kahir, we'll be able to res our leader for a lot of points, and our last card included, which is pretty nice. So that's what we're aiming for. If we're not, then we're not quite sure what we're hitting. I think it will be a Viper Witcher, which is, you know, it's also pretty decent. So we can probably go ahead and play a Witcher here. I think is fine. And either way, you know, we're going to have another one with the Vilgefortz. Should be good. Okay, so Vilgefortz last card. See what we get. If it's Kahir, it's really good, and it is. It's big point play. And look, we've thinned all the way to 0, so just kind of showing the strength of this deck. We're like massively ahead, and that is in fact a win. So yeah, there's a lot this deck can do. It's really good at thinning. I mean, the one downside to it is it doesn't have a lot of carryover. You know, War Dancer and carryover from Skellige can be a bit of a problem. Potentially Babagazes as well are a bit annoying, but you know. That being said, oh, I ranked up. Excitement. Anyhow, thank you very much. Oh, new border. Wow. Yeah, thanks very much for watching. I hope this helps, and you should probably play this deck right now if you want to climb. This is my recommendation for the moment. I think Alchemy is pretty damn strong. Anyhow, have a great day, guys. Have a good time Gwenting, and I will see you next time.